The year is 1982 and Universal Pictures is in a bit of a bind. They've just released the third entry in the already iconic horror series Halloween, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and despite its future reputation as an endearing horror classic, at the time it made what was seen to be an egregious error. It tried something different. In the case of this film, that meant having no Michael Myers, the creature feature stabby man himself, anywhere in the film. This resulted in the worst thing a movie studio executive can possibly be told about a sequel they just produced. It didn't make as much money as the last one. In response to this terrible news, the studio whipped into a frenzy, and for the next entry in the series, it was soft reboot city, baby, and thus we saw the return of Michael Myers. Back to basics, a creative reset, getting back to what really worked about the original, aka, oh god, we fucked up, get Donald Pleasence on the phone. And thus, after 6 years of rewrites and careful consideration, we received Halloween 4, a film that when watching today holds itself together surprisingly better than you'd expect. It's got a strong, mood-setting opening, it re-explains the origins of Michael for the folks who haven't seen the original and sends him back to the mental asylum, only for him to break out almost immediately. He treks across the country all the way to Haddonfield to eventually come face to face with a person linked to his past that feels a deeper connection to him than anyone else. Jamie Strode, the daughter of Laurie Strode and in this timeline, Michael's niece. And from there it's silly, fast-paced, schlocky fun. The film also goes in a new direction by showing the response from the town members who were around for the original, showing how Michael's return galvanizes them into vigilante justice, with results that are less than desirable.
Shit, Earl. It's Ted Hollister. You dumb son of a bitch.
It's quite an underdeveloped part of the film, but it's still a welcome change of pace compared to the small pool of characters from Halloween 1 and 2. If I could use one word to describe Halloween 4, it would be efficient. It establishes everything it needs to in almost record time. Michael's on the loose within the first 15 minutes, and everything after that, from the character introductions to the motivations to the eventual chase scenes, are all shot and paced so streamlined and mechanically, it's as if Michael himself was in the director's chair. The film never tries to be anything more than what it is. It's aware that it's simply there to fill 90 minutes, and it does it well. And it's not without its charm. The vibe of this film is really great, and it screams cozy October movie night, especially in the opening shots. More horror films need to have quiet, mood-setting openings like this. Donald Pleasence is great as Loomis, as he always is. His sequence with Reverend Jack is straight out of a Stephen King book, and the film has some really entertaining moments.
Don't go to Haddonfield.
Oh shit, you better kill him, Donald.
God damn you.
And he's gone. Who's this guy, Bugs Bunny? Oh my god. Donald Pleasence, watch out! Whoa, watch out, he's gonna get you. He's gonna get you. Oh shit, what the hell am I doing? I don't think he's coming back from this one, guys. Why is the mask that color? I don't like it.
But for all that I can praise it for, the film does have a lot of issues too. The actual plot itself is quite heavily contrived, unoriginal, and relies heavily on non-important characters being stupid and a lot of convenience, but that's to be expected from the fourth Halloween movie. And the film starts to flirt with the idea laid out in Halloween 2 of Michael being a family killer, an idea I for one never liked, as it only goes to weaken the mystery of Michael's motivations and weakens him as a villain. The film also has some blatant fumbles with the continuity. Michael has perfectly healthy eyes despite them getting shot out in his last appearance, and Dr. Loomis has managed to escape an exploding room with minor burns on his face.
My original script, the opening scene was a shot down the hospital corridor looking at a wall, and then the explosion, the wall would burst open from that blast, and you would see Dr. Loomis's body flying backward, almost right directly at the camera, and then you would cut, so you would know he was blasted out of that room and survived.
The costume department is also questionable when it comes to Myers himself, but they were probably given no time at all to prepare, so you can't really blame them. But that's Halloween 4. The film's ending is surprisingly different than what you'd expect, leaving our cast of characters in an interesting, maybe even Michael-less place now that their world has been thoroughly rocked by having Jamie Strode continue the endless cycle of bloodshed and becoming the next boogeyman, setting us up for a sequel that could do some interesting things should this film make enough bank. And oh boy, did it make bank. This showed the studio that if you keep things basic, take your time, and let the creatives cook, you can have a profitable, if critically panned film that the fans will enjoy. So, what do they decide to do next? Panic rush straight into the next film, making it as quickly as possible with no plan, ignoring everything the ending set up, overpowering the creatives, and completely fucking everything up. Halloween 5 is a terrible mess. Out the door is forced cohesion and efficiency, and in its place is sloppy, rushed allegory and a plot that makes the film that came before it significantly worse in hindsight. Everything from the pacing, acting, production value, and overall entertainment is such a fall off from the last film that it's just depressing. I used to think that this opening here with the pumpkins was pretty cool, but nowadays I'm pretty sure it's just there to fill for time when they ran out of budget, because good lord do they just love to show a black screen whenever they can. Also, it has the Postman Pat theme in it. Postman Pat, Postman Pat. In the beginning minutes, the film actually sets itself up to be something a bit more interesting. Michael has survived his blast out from the last movie, because of course he has, and after the shock ending of the last movie, it's up in the air what the fate of our girl who's linked with the Brute is. Is she destined to continue the cycle of evil incarnate born from a ruined child? Is this a supernatural evil, or is it merely the darkness which is capable within all of us? The film continues to answer none of these questions. For every step it takes to go into an Abrams-esque mystery box direction, it's also so terrified of a status quo mix-up that the film takes massive, contradictory swings to have none of it really mean anything at all. By the end, Jamie's literal act of murder is hand-waved away, and they make her mute so she doesn't have to talk about it, and everything is just reset back to just another Halloween movie. Despite everything it tries, it still has to have endless sequences of Michael killing nobodies, even though at this point, it completely contradicts him as a character. If Michael's sole mission, so to speak, is to find and kill his family members, why is he killing people in a barn? I know you could say, well, it was part of his master plan to lure Jamie there, but if you think this guy plans anything, then I don't know what to tell you. Even Donald Pleasance can't save this one. I love the idea of what he's going for. He's so racked with paranoia and desperation to truly stop Michael that he's become maniacal in his own way. But in the end, he just comes off as tired and frustrated, and I can't blame him. He's given almost nothing to do the whole film but bully a traumatized little girl and do the same monologue about evil he's been doing for over a decade at this point. Although, he does have his highlights.
I prayed that he would burn in hell, but in my heart, I knew that hell would not have him.
From what I can gather, Halloween 5's production was a total nightmare for just about everyone involved. The film had so many last-minute rewrites, plot changes, and reshoots that it's a miracle there's something even this cohesive at all. There's entire sequences with things that don't add up. I brought up the whole Abrams mystery box thing, which if you don't know is a storytelling technique penned by J.J. Abrams, where the mysteries of a story are as important, if not more important, and boy does Halloween 5 have some mysteries. There's a man in black that keeps showing up, there's this random thorn symbol. Why is Michael going after family? Why are Michael and Jamie psychically linked? All of these questions are so, well, mysterious that not even the writers knew where they were going. So what we have is a film trying desperately to set up something bigger and more grandiose, but has been manhandled so thoroughly by the studio and rushed out the door so fast that it fell flat on its face and killed any and all momentum for the entire trilogy. So where do we go from here? Oh, fucking hell. Well, after all my complaining about not doing anything different, they sure tried something different. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers is... I don't even know, really. If you thought the production problems for Halloween 5 made that film messy, you see, no. See, this film has the unfortunate task of acting as the Rise of Skywalker, the film that has to answer all the confusing, annoying questions set up before it, and somehow tie it all together in a neat bow. So, what's with the thorns? What's with the guy in black? What's with all of it? An evil murder cult. Yeah, you heard me. An evil murder cult. The film starts with Jamie Strode, the girl from the last movies, all grown up and being held against her will in the secret compound of the Cult of Thorn, which has been underneath the sanitarium that housed Michael Myers this whole time. The Cult of Thorn is an evil, ancient magic worshipping cult ran by Dr. Wynn, an old work acquaintance of Dr. Loomis, who has been secretly aiding and helping Michael Myers off-screen this entire time as the Man in Black. You see, the cult believe that this symbol that was everywhere in the last movie represents a demon or something that spreads death and disease and shit, so they hold the evil at bay by inflicting the curse of said thorn on one person, dooming them to kill their entire bloodline as a sacrifice on Halloween night, ensuring the safety of everybody else. So that's it. After all this, all the bloodshed and mayhem, It was to protect a circle of old white dudes. Just like it always is. Oh, and the reason why Jamie's being held captive is because she's pregnant and they want the baby for nefarious purposes. I got sidetracked and forgot to mention that. But Jamie escapes with the baby and manages to hide it away from Michael before being unceremoniously killed off because fuck it, why not at this point?
I guess we'll never get to know what that psychic link stuff was about.
And there's also an entirely new group of Strodes who are explained away as related in some bullshit related to Laurie Strode's adoptive parents way, but they don't matter. They are merely canon fodder. Also, Paul Rudd is in this. The Ant Dude himself. He plays Tommy Doyle, a kid from all the way back in Halloween 1 who is now all grown up and a weirdo creep obsessed with the inevitable return of Michael Myers. He ends up helping out by finding Jamie's baby and working with the returning Dr. Loomis to stop Michael and his stupid cult once and for all. This film marks the last intentional appearance of Donald Pleasence in the series, and it's fine. He's clearly checked out and far too old for this shit, but he's a good sport, so he still gets his moments to shine, even if the light is dwindling at this point. Eventually, everything comes to a head with a showdown at the sanitarium. Good versus evil, hatred versus purity, I don't know. Dr. Wynn reveals that the reason that they want the baby so bad isn't just so that Michael can kill it, it's because it was part of an experiment in an attempt to clone Michael's DNA and understand the true power of the evil within him. I don't fucking know. Michael wakes up, seemingly as tired of all this as we are, and kills the entire cult, because, I mean, he just wanted to kill a baby, he didn't sign up for this. Everybody runs around for a little bit, and then Paul Rudd beats Michael Myers with a pipe. He bleeds green for some reason, and then he just dies. The film then hard cuts to the group about to leave the sanitarium. They ask Dr. Loomis to come with them. He says no because he has a little business to attend to. Then this happens. And that's the movie.
No, you don't get to. You don't get to do that.
Halloween 6 is an almost unwatchable piece of cinema. The flirtation of Michael being a family killer from all the way back in Halloween 2 has exploded into a full-blown, hideous love affair in the most baffling way imaginable. What was an ignorable contrivance in 4 is now so important to the structure of the plot that it's just frustrating to watch. It puts the viewer into a lose-lose situation, because if you like the direction the story was going with Michael, then you'll hate this because it's handled so poorly and has a confusing mess of a payoff. And if you didn't like the idea to begin with, you'll hate it because now you have to watch it get even worse and it's the only thing to watch. I know a large chunk of this segment has just been me trying to explain what happens in this movie, but there's really no other way to talk about it. The film is so inconceivably bad that it defies analysis and simply speaks for itself. It's really obvious that the making of this film was an absolute mess. Everyone, from the writers to the directors to the studio heads, even the distributors and the MPAA were meddling with the film during every single step of the process. From plot points to Michael's physique, everything was swapped around on the fly, and what results is a fever dream that's shot like an episode of Law & Order, edited like a new metal music video, and written like fan fiction. Which isn't that far off, I guess. Upon its release, a bootleg producer's cut, which in actuality was the work print version of the film, started circulating around and gained a cult-like fan base, due to how hard it was to obtain and due to it apparently being a lot closer to the original vision. The cut has around 70 minutes of differing footage and scenes, and features an entirely different ending than the theatrical release. Jamie lives a lot longer in this version before getting shot in the fucking head. Dr. Loomis does a little bit of screeching and... Okay, content warning for this bit. Instead of the baby getting the DNA from Michael because it was like some science experiment or something, it's an incest rape baby between Michael and Jamie. Yeah, we're gonna move on now.
Not rape.
For today's snack time, me and my boyfriend decided to go on an adventure to find the craziest snack nature has to offer. Who knows what kind of crazy berries and nuts we can find on this grand... We went to McDonald's. I got a cheeseburger meal and a fillet of fish because I'm a freak.
Okay, I got a fillet of fish. So what? I order a cheeseburger and nobody bats an eye. I order a fillet of fish. Everyone loses their mind.
And my boyfriend got a free Big Mac that he had trapped in his phone and a cheeseburger. The food was very good. His burger looked like it got sat on, but my fish was good. So 7 out of.
And thus the snake eats its own tail, starting the cycle once more. Some things may move around, some voices may take on new shapes, but in the end it's all the same. History is, as you know, doomed to repeat.
The year is 2009 and Dimension Films is in a bit of a bind. They've just released the 10th entry in the iconic horror series Halloween 2 and made what was seen to be an egregious error. It tried something different. I mean, it was also really fucking bad, I'm sure that didn't help. This resulted in the worst thing a movie studio executive can possibly be told about a sequel they just produced. It didn't make as much money as the last one. In response to this terrible news, the studio whipped into a frenzy, and for the next entry in the series, it was soft reboot city, baby, and thus we saw the return of Michael Myers. Back to basics, a creative reset, getting back to what really worked about the original, aka, oh god, we fucked up, if only we still had Donald Pleasance. And so, after 7 years of rewrites and careful consideration, we received Halloween 2018, a film that, when watching today, holds itself together surprisingly better than you'd expect. It's got a strong, mood-setting opening, it re-explains the origins of Michael for the folks who haven't seen the original, and sends him back to the mental asylum, only for him to break out almost immediately. He tracks across the country all the way back to Haddonfield, and eventually comes face to face with a person linked to his past that feels a deeper connection to him than anyone else. Laurie Strode, survivor of the original attack 40 years prior, and from there, it's silly, fast-paced, schlocky fun. If I could use one word to describe Halloween 2018, it would be efficient. It establishes everything it needs to in almost record time. By 30 minutes, Michael's on the loose and we know all of our major players and what's at stake. Everything after that, from the character introductions and motivations to the eventual chase scenes, all fall into place and are so tightly structured and pre-planned it's as if Laurie herself edited the film. It never tries to be more than what it is. It's aware that it's simply there to fill 100 minutes and it does it well. And it's not without its charm. The vibe of the film is really great and screams edge of your seat movie night. And Jamie Lee Curtis is a really standout part. She's basically become what Dr. Loomis became before her, a paranoid crazy person who is simply waiting for evil to return. Although Laurie has a lot more firepower, the extent of her doomsday prepping is a highlight of the film to me. It's almost a running gag how prepared she is for every eventuality. By the end, it's as if she's aware of the franchise she's in and she's taken no chances. Although Halloween 2018 acts as a complete reboot, everything after the original film is supposed to have never happened, so seeing all this craziness over someone who, in this context, is just a random guy who escaped a mental asylum and killed a handful of people 40 years ago, it's a bit far-fetched, but it makes sense for Laurie, I guess. Not getting closure can do some crazy things to a mind racked with survivor's guilt and desperate to not let the same fate befall her children. I sure hope this brief blip in immersion doesn't become an insane, baffling creative decision that leaks into all the other characters. Oh shit, yeah, Laurie has kids. She's got a daughter and a granddaughter. They're here too, I guess. They're fine. They fulfill their purpose of non-believers who are turned over by the end. The townsfolk in general are more right too. The lack of importance in Michael's past for them helps justify their stupidity and lack of knowledge, so it's less frustrating to watch than before. Plus, none of them pull the fucking fake Michael gag. But for all that I can praise it for, the film has a lot of issues too. The actual plot itself is quite heavily contrived and relies a lot on non-important characters being stupid and a lot of convenience, but that's to be expected from the 11th Halloween movie. And while the film makes strides into grounding Michael Myers, making him an unknowable but mortal man, which is a very much appreciated breath of fresh air, in my opinion, the more you make Michael Myers supernatural and unkillable, the less interesting he becomes, and it just makes him a more boring portrayal of what evil is and can be. It kind of spits in the face of the original idea that evil can come from anywhere if it's coming from a hulking superhuman zombie guy. But the film does start to flirt with the idea of a supernatural Michael a bit, despite the moves to get away from it. When the film came out and the sequel was on the way, director David Gordon Green then went on to say this in an interview with IGN. The suggestion that he is more than a man is a theory that Laurie has. My own personal concept for Michael, which will carry forward as long as I'm involved, is that he's capable of spectacular things, but not impossible things. I don't personally see him as supernatural. I'm sure this quote will age extremely well. So, Halloween 2018 came out and made a fuck ton of cash, reigniting love for the series and showed the studios that if you keep things basic, take your time, and let the creatives cook, you can have a profitable and maybe even critically liked film on your hands. So, what do they decide to do next? Panic rush straight into the next film, making it as quickly as possible, ignoring everything that worked and completely fucking everything up.
I mean, as much as you can rush with a global pandemic going on.
Halloween Kills is a terrible mess. Out the door is 2018's cohesion and groundedness, and in its place is sloppy rushed allegory and a plot that makes the film that came before it significantly worse in hindsight. Everything from the pacing, acting, production value, and overall entertainment is such a fall off from the last film that it's just depressing. Which is a crying shame, because the start of the film is one of the strongest openings to any film in the entire franchise, recreating the ending to the very first film and showing what happened afterwards that we never got to see. It's incredibly well shot, meticulously crafted, and pays homage to Donald Pleasance in a way that I wish more movies did. If you're going to bring back a character whose actors passed away, you don't need AI or CGI, you simply need clever tricks and an actor that respects what he's portraying. Imagine if we got like a whole Halloween film set in the 70s, and it looked like this and had this attention to detail. Fuck, that'd be good. But after this sequence, we get to the actual plot of the film. Taking place immediately after 2018, Michael has survived his blast out from the last movie, because of course he has, and it's up in the air what the fate of our girl who's linked with the brute is. Is she destined to continue the never-ending cycle of evil, or is this whole thing a mountain made from a molehill? Are Laurie and Michael linked, or has Laurie simply aligned herself with what is essentially a wild, unfeeling animal? Is this a supernatural evil, or is it merely the darkness which is capable within all of us? The film continues to answer none of these questions. Instead, Laurie, her daughter, and her granddaughter are shoved off into a hospital so the film can cover what it really wants to. Community. Halloween Kills goes in a new direction for the series. Social commentary, by showing the response of the town members to the new murders, showing how Michael's return galvanizes them into vigilante justice, with results that are less than desirable. It's quite an underdeveloped part of the film, but it's a major focus. The whole thing is spearheaded by the return of Tommy Doyle, who is once again a weirdo creep obsessed with the inevitable return of Michael Myers. When he finds out that the Shape has returned to Haddonfield, he puts together a ragtag group of people to put a stop to him once and for all. As the night goes on, the group expands and grows in size, becoming more unwieldy and dangerous in their quest to slay what they view as evil, culminating in them mistaking another escaped mental patient for Michael Myers, chasing him to the same hospital Laurie's at, and getting him killed. And during all of this, they are constantly repeating the phrase, "Evil dies tonight," over and over and over again.
Evil dies tonight! Evil dies tonight! Not evil dies tonight! Evil dies tonight! Evil dies tonight!
Now it needs to die.
Die!
The film tries so hard to nail the point deep into the folds of your brain that mobs are bad and fear makes people do bad things, but it's so painfully surface level that it comes off as infuriating. I can just imagine the writer's ego growing every time he writes down "Evil dies tonight" on the script. And the most frustrating part is, much like Halloween 2, no, this film takes place the exact same night as the film before it. So let's just look at this scenario in a vacuum. 40 years ago, a guy who is probably like supernatural or something, but everybody only knows him as mentally ill, goes on a killing spree after escaping from a mental hospital. He kills a handful of people and then gets captured again. 40 years later, he breaks out again and starts doing it again. And when the town finds out about it, like an hour after it starts happening, the entire area is just chaos. Everyone's willing to do whatever it takes to stop this pure evil. It's just an old man. The craziness makes sense for Laurie. She was directly attacked by Michael. It makes less sense for Tommy to be so insanely invested, but you could still extend your disbelief for it. But the entire town? Most of them weren't even born when Michael did the original murders, and they're more than fine with getting an escaped mental patient to kill themselves over it? You really expect me to believe that some crazy old guy is enough to get an entire population to destroy public property and desecrate something that they hold dear? Just get that picture off the screen! It's a pathetic and blatant attempt to try and inject a deeper meaning into a film that really didn't need to happen. It's trying to go for the whole the town has a living sense of evil thing from other horror works like It. That book, and which the films tackled the same thing, but in a sense that works significantly better because the townsfolk in that book didn't feel like morons with 2 brain cells. And it spends over 1,000 pages showing how the town's dysfunction is deeply rooted and systematic. Halloween Kills is an hour and 45 minutes, and the town goes from a normal happy-go-lucky place to end of days religious fervor at the tip of a hat because some old guy killed some people. Another major problem with the film is Michael himself. You know how one of the major points of Halloween 2018 was making Michael Myers a mortal man once again? How that was thematically almost the entire point of the film? Halloween Kills decides that that shit's for babies, and Michael is once again an unstoppable killing machine.
He's capable of spectacular things, but not impossible things. I don't personally see him as supernatural.
I don't think he's coming back from this one, guys.
Never mind, he's perfectly fine.
This reeks of the writers wanting to have Michael do a lot of crazy kills and take a big beating, but not being able to figure out how to do it realistically. So instead, they went back to the Halloween 4, 5, and 6 approach of him being supernatural, and it's just a shame. Thanks to this, the film just turns into this boring, monotonous loop of Michael's killing people, everyone's crazy at the hospital. Michael's killing people, everyone acting crazy at the hospital. Michael's killing people, but it feels like the film equivalent of Rush DLC. We want to have Laurie and Michael face off, but we need to save that for the end of the trilogy. Shove her in the hospital and make her ramble about evil because she's just Dr. Loomis now, and make Michael kill a bunch of people we never get to know for an hour. But make sure he kills at least one major character so it doesn't feel completely pointless. And that's Halloween Kills, a film trying desperately to set up something bigger and more grandiose, but it fumbles out of the door so hard that it falls flat on its face and kills Denny and all momentum for the entire trilogy. So where do we go from here? Oh, fucking hell. Well, after all my complaining about not doing anything different, they sure tried something different. Halloween Ends is... I don't even know, really. The film opens Halloween night 2019. We're introduced to Corey Cunningham, a normal kid babysitting a wee bastard conveniently in the Myers house in a town still high on its own supply of the Michael Myers fever of 2018. Through some silly chicanery, Corey accidentally gets the kid BTFO'd, and while the judge clears him from the death, in Haddonfield, nobody forgets. We do a 3-year time jump and Corey is working in a scrapyard. He's a social reject and mentally working on his manifesto or something. He eventually stumbles across Laurie Strode and her granddaughter Allison, who he strikes up a romantic relationship with. Things seem peachy until Corey gets thrown off a bridge by a group of bullies, where he comes across Michael Myers, living in the sewers and in a bad state. Corey manages to escape the somehow still living, but totally not supernatural guy's Michael Myers before being accosted by a crazy homeless dude.
I'm Mike Myers.
Corey de-escalates the situation in a calm and professional manner by stabbing the homeless guy to death and running away. This event changes Corey, and Laurie takes notice. You know, you could be a bit more subtle about all this, Corey, you fucking idiot. As his incel rage continues to grow within him, he takes Allison on a date to a dingy, gross diner, where Allison is harassed by an ex. Corey doesn't take kindly to this and lures the guy back to the sewers, where he's killed by Michael Myers, which restores him closer to his former power level like a fucking video game character. Things only get worse from there. As Corey and Allison get more and more romantically intertwined, so do Corey and Michael. Seriously though, is this a kill scene or a sex scene? Like, get a room! Resulting in Corey and Michael teaming up to kill Allison's boss because he passed her up for a promotion, along with the woman that he gave it to as well, just for good measure. Eventually, Corey gets kicked out of his parents and winds up sleeping in the Myers house until Halloween night, where he runs into the sewers, overpowers Michael, takes his mask, and completes his descent into evil, donning the skin of the devil and becoming what Haddonfield had been making him. Michael Myers 2. Here's the thing, Halloween Ends is kind of good. It has a lot of really great ideas and takes the series in an actually fresh direction for the first time in like ages. The shitty allegories about fear in the mob and Halloween Kills is touched upon again, but here it's far more subtle and toned down, and it works. It's mentioned that Corey is essentially a sacrificial lamb to the town, who never got closure on their monster after Michael went missing, so they had to make a new one to carry on. I still think Michael being supernatural is stupid, but in a vacuum, this is probably the best way it's ever been done. The whole idea of the transference of evil and Michael and Corey essentially being shells for the fear from the town to inhabit, it's such a good idea and it has so much potential. Fun fact, back in the 90s, a potential straight-to-video Halloween 7 script was pitched called Two Faces of Evil, and it would have featured Michael having a copycat killer. That probably didn't affect Halloween Ends at all, but Sydney told me to mention it somewhere in the video, so I did. You're welcome, Sydney. The only thing with Halloween Ends is it's really rushed. Corey's development is so fast and at points so sudden that it's a bit silly. What's frustrating about it is, structurally, it didn't need to be this way. To me, something significantly worse than a film just being flat out bad is a film with wasted potential. And Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills are just littered with so many good ideas. They had the potential to be something really fantastic, but it's just squandered as soon as it ever comes up. Much like the Star Wars trilogy that I mentioned earlier, if there had just been a bit more planning, maybe if Corey had been introduced in Halloween Kills and the end of that film was the start of his corruption, it would have tied these films together so much more. Kills would have had more to do and have more of a purpose. Ends would have had more room to breathe and develop Corey as our next Michael. There are much smarter people than me that have made entire videos dedicated to analysing the mood and the symbolism and the cinematography of Halloween Ends, and it's really great stuff. There's so much potential, but it's just in service of meandering slop. Okay, sorry about that. I got sidetracked. It's just, that's been in the back of my head for like 2 years and I wanted to get it out. It's also been a good way to get out of talking about the last act of Halloween Ends. I've been avoiding it for a reason. So, Corey's full on crazy now. He kills a bunch of people and makes his way down to Laurie's house to kill her and do what Michael never could, in this timeline anyway. He gets there, and there's a surprisingly funny fake out, and then Corey is seemingly defeated, but he gets the last laugh in the end, stabbing himself in the neck and causing Laurie to accidentally incriminate herself in front of Allison, ruining their relationship forever. You know what, that's actually a pretty good way of tying up the cycle of evil thing. These two have been in a cold war of sorts for the whole movie, so it's a cool way to do the mutually assured destruction thing. And it subverts expectations even more than the film already has been. Good ending, Halloween Ends. Wait, hang on. What? Michael? What are you doing here? Michael, no, stop. Michael, stop. Oh, for fuck's sake, never mind. Michael and Laurie duke it out one final time in a sloppy, poorly shot fight that barely lasts 5 minutes before Laurie squashes Michael with a fridge. Allison comes back, no longer hates her grandma, and they cut Michael's wrists open, killing him once and for all. The entire town and the local police then take Michael's body to an industrial crusher, turn him into goo, and that's the movie. This ending fucking sucks. And it screams, we were gonna do another ending, but the studio wanted a Michael and Laurie fight, so we reshot the last 10 minutes. It's noticeably sloppier and far more rushed than the rest of the film, and it completely undoes all of the messaging that the film had been working to. Evil never dies. It will change face and transfer to a new host. Oh wait, never mind. Evil is the same guy it's been for the last 46 years. We killed him, guys. We did it. We stopped evil. Update. It turns out the film originally did have a bit of a different ending. In the book Halloween, the official making of Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends, which is an amazing title, it's revealed that the original ending of the film would have Corey die like how he did, and Michael show up. But upon killing Michael, all of his evil would transfer to Laurie, and Laurie, knowing what she is now capable of, would have locked herself away from the world and Allison. Now, is this ending still insanely fucking stupid? Yeah. Is it closer to the original themes of the movie though? Yeah, look, if Michael had just never showed up at the house, if Laurie had killed Corey, then had his evil transferred, or even just believed that she was too far gone, even if there was no transference, I feel like that would have been a far more thematic ending and would have stuck in people's heads more. But hey, what do I know? David Gordon Green is the one making Hollywood hits, not me. I wonder what he's been up to recently.
Oh my goodness!
So, that's the two trilogies of Halloween. A decent film, followed by a fumble, and concluded with a confusing contradiction manhandled by the studio. There's been many other Halloween films than these, some of them good, some of them not so good, but I've always found it interesting that the series managed to achieve two separate trilogies, who both somehow managed to fail for the same reasons. Much like Michael's evil itself, the slop is an endless cycle, doomed forever to repeat again and again. The snake forever eats its own tail, and the closure is never achieved. Even when you think it's over, it's just setting up the board once more.
Freaky woman.